Having been good friends and a coworker with Kat for over 20 years now, 21, I'm certain that's not what it
That
says.
yeah, it's
I
yeah.
know what hers says.
Oh, fun. All right, Ben. Let's jump into tonight's topic here, and we'll put a time. I'll put a time thing in the description of the video for those of you who are like, "How are people ever going to find when it starts?" Well, we'll take care of that.
Skip this part.
Yeah, exactly. So we're about 20 minutes in. So we heard that one of our viewers had brought up the idea they had heard about a performer that ended up was electrocuted because they were gotten hugged and outdoors and wet and this thing and they were still wired up and things happen with when we're doing outdoors that are unusual and I really they said, hey, can you guys talk a little bit about that? And I think it's probably time for us to do it because like in Minnesota, early season we do outdoor stuff. This time of the year we're indoors because it's usually nasty and hot and whatever. And then we get into fall and it's like we're outdoor every weekend once again. But in the fall it's usually outdoor and rainy. So it's a concern with water. How can we, when we're outdoors, let's kind of go through some things that will help protect people from becoming a statistic.
Well, I'll tell you, this is going to seem like such a simple topic because it's to me anyway, it's just common sense stuff, use cords that are in good repair. Make sure you have the ground plugs on there and that you have equipment safety grounds in place and those sorts of things. Of course, using weather protected equipment is a good idea in areas that you expect it to get wet. For things like our downstage lighting truss and things that there's just really no practical way to, if it starts raining, we can't really fly that truss in and do much about it. And I realize most DJs don't fly trusses. I'm just giving an example of when something really can't get out of the weather, then
Right.
then it should be rated for the weather, right? I think I wish this was meaningful. I wish it meant something. A weather app. I was just, we just had a show not too many weeks ago with Scotty McCreery, and three of the guys from his crew and myself were all standing on the stage, each of us with a weather app open, and we're all looking at a different weather app, and all of them are showing nothing on the radar and 0% precip, and it is raining on us at that moment. I wish I could say weather apps were, even 50%, but I think they're better than nothing, right?
Yeah.
It's gonna, be prepared. Moisture certainly is a potential problem. Water is certainly a potential problem. But there's so many other things too. Wind can blow speakers over and blow away tents, and that can be harmful not only to our gear, but it can also be harmful to people around the gear.
Right.
A speaker can tip on somebody, or you know, tents can become basically flying shrapnel.
Mm-hmm.
So. Again, I think the first and simple things is just common sense. Just use good judgment when running cords and making sure they're in good repair and that they have they have all the parts to them right. And like I said, I wish it was some grandiose thing, but it really isn't.
Mm-hmm.
At least not to me, I guess.
Let's dig into a little bit about because we hear GFI. Let's dig
Hmm.
into what that is and how that would be utilized in our outdoor situations.
Well, GFI or GFCI is a device that looks at how much current is coming in on the line and how much current is going out on the neutral, and it reasons that any difference in that must be going to the ground. Then it has a ground fault, which is what GFCI stands for, ground fault circuit interrupter, or GFI, ground fault interrupter. And there are different thresholds of GFIs, different milliamps, that sort of thing. But basically, at that point, it's going to say, we have a problem here, and we're going to interrupt the circuit. So most of your outlets outside are going to be GFI protected. Unfortunately, sometimes certain things like voltage meters on some power conditioners will cause GFIs to trip, and some things that it doesn't like. But for the most part, they're really good, and probably just about any outdoor circuit you're going to plug into is going to be a GFCI protected circuit anyway.
Mm-hmm. So would it be something that for extra precaution or extra security that we would add an additional GFCI to that, like a cord that had that capability, or is that just unnecessary?
Well, I don't think that you can be too careful, right? So you can certainly have. There are portable ones you can buy and you can use. I wouldn't argue against it. All right,
Hmm.
but it's those. It's kind of like I'm trying to think of a good analogy here, and I'm gonna just sort of make this one up, but it's kind of like not flying a plane safely because you have a parachute. You know, I think first and foremost, it's not a bad idea to have the parachute, right? And I'm saying that these safety devices are good things to have, but also just don't try to go into harm's way, right? I don't know the circumstance, but behind how that artist got electrocuted, I did see that it happened. I know that he hugged a wet fan. I don't know. To me, there are things that there's pieces that I just have to try to put together, and I haven't had time to research it. I've just been extraordinarily, busy, and I haven't had time to really dig into the cause. And I'm sure there'll be a lot more forthcoming with the investigation and that sort of thing. But there are so many ways we can get hurt, and electricity is only really just one of them, and maybe not even the most likely, because as I kind of pointed to the code book earlier, there are things in place, right? We had one of our technicians unfortunately have to be transported by ambulance just a few weeks ago because they tripped on a cord at the edge of a stage and went face first down off a
Ooh.
5 foot stage. And of course landed on their head and ended up with an injury to an arm and a broken
Mm.
knee. And we're a very safety conscious company. We talk about it all the time. We actively train on it. And just a momentary lapse can lead to these things. So I think that if we were to talk about all the ways that we can be hurt at a show, and even if we just limit that to outdoors, there's a lot of different things. And
Certainly.
and it all really comes back down to, like I said, just what ought to be common sense,
Hmm.
you know. And of course, DJs I think have a greater potential risk exposure. Maybe we have at most of the events, and of course I worked as a DJ for over 15 years and did something north of 1,000 events, just sort of quick counting once it hit a lot of zeros. But now we have security at our events, and we have barricades, and we have these sorts of things in place, and DJs often don't have that. So you've got intoxicated people who are really not thinking about safety. They're thinking about fun, right? They're thinking about the experience that you're providing them, the moment. Of course, just a couple of weeks ago, I was a father of a bride myself, so I got to really, partake in that and just enjoy being a guest. And those are moments when you have to be, I think, extra vigilant, right?
Hmm.
As the person who's doing it, where are your cables run? How are your stands placed? Are you, sort of being mindful about ways that we could put others at risk, and of course also ourselves at risk. So.
So you mentioned of course a little bit earlier talking when you're about the ground and such at the GFI. We've talked in past shows about ground lifting devices, and of course
Mhm.
cheaters, which would be one of the little devices. And of course, there's times where people have broken off the ground plug on an extension cord. We've talked about that being a bad idea indoors. My idea is that would even be a more potential deadly situation outdoors.
Oh, absolutely. It's first of all, and people really don't like it when I say this. And I kind of would like to. I'd kind of like to call those people out. I think to say, if this offends you, I want you to stop and think about why. If this statement that I'm about to say bothers you, I want you to stop and be introspective and say, why am I so bothered by that statement? But first and foremost, this is just me stating fact. All right. And you can research the fact, and I can verify the fact, but it is illegal to do that. It is a violation of National Electric Code. It's stated right in there. You can't do it, you know? So when you do something that is deliberately illegal, to remove a ground plug off a cord, that, and in fact, it says right in the code book that noise is not a or they call them objectionable currents, which they are objectionable, but that's not a sufficient reason to do it. So it very clearly says, hey, if you got a noise problem, that's your problem. You got to figure that out somewhere else, but you can't take this ground off here, because that ground exists for really one reason and one reason only. That's the equipment safety ground. And since the inception of my Facebook account, I haven't changed this, mostly because I'm lazy, but on my Facebook, it says, it's like the About You thing or whatever. I don't know, I never changed it. I said the secret, electricity will always take the shortest path to ground, and the secret to a long and happy life is to never be the shortest path to ground. So if we have that equipment safety ground in place, we have a low resistance path for that current to go to ground where it wants to go, and that doesn't involve going through you. When you take that ground away, you might now be the shortest path to ground, or the easiest path to ground is maybe a better way to say it, and that doesn't usually end well. So yeah, it's not a good idea inside. It's not a good idea outside. I mean, it's not like Dr. Seuss. It's not a good idea anywhere, anytime, anyhow, right?
Exactly.
So
Neither here nor there. You don't. Yeah.
yeah, that's right. We should write. Too bad I'm not wittier and quicker. I could whip this out, but I can't. So
Or we had sock puppets. If we could have sock puppets, that would have been awesome.
all right. So next show, Whittier and sock puppets.
So let's talk a little bit about generators, because you have, with some of the big events you do, you guys bring in the big diesel generators and are utilizing this huge amount of power coming from a portable device like that. How does the use of a generator change a person's GFI needs or ground needs or anything to that effect?
Well, it's funny. I just took a picture of a generator not that long ago. So I'm scrolling through my photos to find it, and I want to be real careful. I know that this is a free show, and obviously I'm not paid to do this, and my insurance company probably doesn't know I am. So if I seem like I'm being cagey or somewhat evasive, I probably am. Because I'm not the world's foremost authority on
Sure.
outdoor
No, I
safety,
understand.
and you should consult those. And I really don't want anything that we say or don't say here to come back and haunt you or I, John, to be blunt.
Hmm.
So let me just pull up this picture of a generator, and so this was a recent show that we were doing. And you can see, these are feeder tails tied in here, and this is a three-phase circuit. But what I want to call your attention to, can you see down to the bottom of the screen? Do you have an ad or anything covering that?
Just a sec. I'm gonna just put a new window and bring it over. There we go. We can see that one that has a nice little green wrapping.
Yeah, so that's our ground right there. And what I want to bring your attention to is right next to it, this copper wire right here.
Yes.
That connects this generator to a ground rod. And so in accordance with code, this generator is grounded, and that is something that, and again, I'm on the stage all the time, and I'm touching a mixing console, which is powered by the generator. I mean, I'm selfishly concerned for my own safety,
Sure.
right? I don't want to do anything that's going to put me in harm's way either. So I'm very adamant about making sure the generators are bonded and grounded. And if I get there and I see that the ground log isn't connected, I'll say, hey, we got to get this thing grounded. I'm not using it. It's interesting. We do like a city festival street thing, whatever. They bring in bands once a year and block off some streets, and we quadruple the town's population for a couple days, and they actually tie us to a fire hydrant there, the ground. And there was two or three electricians and myself. Of course, I have a Minnesota electrical license, and we were all talking about the benefits of that. I'm like, you really can't beat that ground. I mean, a ground is defined, if I remember correctly, in the National Electric Code as basically moist earth, right? And well, you can't beat an iron pipe going that holds water. I mean, it's a fire hydrant. It's about the best ground you can probably get. So. And then there's other things that we look for. I look for my voltage potential between ground and my neutral, which should be my grounded conductor. And we don't call the ground a conductor because it's not part of the conductive cycle. It's not part of the normal current carrying members. It's there only in case of safety, like we talked about. So you shouldn't normally have flow to to ground. But anyway, so I'll check the voltage potential between neutral and ground, and make sure that everything is as it should be. So
And that level of stuff is probably something we as a DJ, that's probably beyond our pay scale type of a situation, because we're first off not dealing with three phase.
it's the same in single phase, though. You could if you go to your outlet right now, and I agree and disagree with that all at once. I
Okay.
think it depends on your. I've come to accept. I've been teaching DJs now, John. I don't know what you would probably remember better than me. 25 years or so.
Yeah, we've been in this game a few. Yeah.
Yeah, between I think my early seminars for local groups, of which
Hmm.
you were a part of, and that of course branched out into the national and the international scene, and then writing and whatever. But I think going back for more than 2 decades, I've been talking to DJs about things, and I've come to accept, I've come to realize that most DJs didn't become DJs because they wanted to do more math, right? They didn't want to get more into the tech nerdy things. And I've also come to accept that most of the people who come to my seminars don't really want to be there.
Hmm.
It's sort of a necessary thing where they finally drag themselves in. It's like, oh, I guess we have to listen to what this guy has to say because it's going to give us a competitive edge. We can produce, a better show, better sound, better experience,
Well, I think
whatever.
I think there's in a room that Ben Stowe was speaking to, there is the group of people who are dragging themselves in because they know that this medicine's good for them, and they're
The
basically got it.
99%, yeah.
And then there's then there's a contingency of people who are just Ben Stowe fans. They have no idea what you're saying. This is the Big Daddy corner. No idea
Yes, I
what
was
you're
just thinking
saying.
of Big Daddy was the first name that popped in my
But
head.
and then
And Betty Jean also, and Liz Daly. Honestly, love you, Liz. So
yeah,
I don't
exactly.
think she even cares that I called her out here. But they're the people, right?
So you've got a variety of different people in that room and such. And but yeah, you've been
I think it was Betty Jean. I don't know if I'm saying this wrong, and of course we're saying it to thousands of our closest friends. But so Big Daddy, it might have been you too. I don't know. I love you, Big Daddy. But I think it was Betty Jean who said, "I have no idea what you're talking about, but I could listen to you for hours." So I don't even know what to make of that. I don't
yeah,
even know what to do with that. Like, okay,
yeah. Is that
so
good or bad?
because
I'm not sure.
my yeah, because really my goal, my mission is to transfer the knowledge to the attendee. It's not to go up there and put on a show. It's not to go up there and hey, look how smart I am, but it's really that I want people to leave with. I want them to leave better. I want them to
Hmm.
leave having invested that time in a way that is beneficial to them, right? So, but I guess if just the entertainment value of it is what's beneficial to her, then that's fine. I can get along with that. But
Well,
anyway,
there's
in
one.
that time, I've come to learn that not everybody
One.
wants to.
There's one more group of people in that room, by the way. We
Oh,
didn't
there
talk
is.
about.
Okay, yeah.
That third group of people is the people back there who just went and got themselves a brand new can of Pepsi, and they're wanting to have a drink every time you say it depends.
It depends. Bottoms up.
Yep,
Yeah.
so there. That's a
I
Ben
think
Stowe
I
seminar
think there's a
room.
fourth group, and I got to get back on track. But I think there's a fourth group, and I love the fourth group too, because many of them have become really good friends. But they are other nerds who come in to see if I'm full of shit or not.
Yeah,
Basically, to
literally.
be
Yep.
blunt.
I've run into those people, and they're the ones who are like, he really is like that. I mean,
I remember one guy, this is out in the East Coast. I was doing a little miniature tour, a couple of cities of speaking, and this guy was talking crap all week to anybody that would listen. He was telling people, he didn't even know me. And he was telling people, he's like, Ben can't even spell DMX, blah, 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 whatever. And I'm like, it's sort of like, that's when the nerd gloves come off. You're like, all right, come at me, bro. Like, what do you got? Like, but I think that's what really is happening here is these are really smart people who only respect other really smart people, and they want to know, are you an imposter? Are
the
you for real?
deal.
Right?
Yep. Yep.
And another dear friend of ours, Drax, I don't think he was quite that person, but he was definitely a heckler. He heckled me a few times in presentations until, I kind of dropped the gauntlet. And then it was like, all right, because, he used to build stuff for NASA, right? Like
Yeah,
he's the real deal.
he's a
He used
laser
to build,
he's a laser technician. This guy
I mean,
knows
yeah,
stuff.
some of
Yeah.
his stuff is in orbit. So like, you can't really take offense to that. You just have to, sort of meet them at their level. I'm like,
But
I'll trade punches with you if you want. Nerd punches, like
yeah.
knowledge punches. But, and Chris Jackson, I've become dear friends, and I love the man.
Well,
So,
I think a lot of that though, the reason that the tonality changed on that is that time, at that one show where you put the thing on Bill Herman and zapped him just to show, you could.
yeah, so you just gotta let people know I'm serious.
Yeah, this is
Like,
serious. You want to talk?
I will hurt you.
We got voltage coming through this helmet, there, buddy.
That's right. I'm not above using electricity to make a point. And and I'll tell you what, there was one DJ that I spoke to the day of my daughter's wedding, other than the one who was performing that day, and it was Bill Herman. And I know you and Bill are good friends, but I think that just he called me just to see how, as father of bride, just to see how I was doing, and I think that so I still don't feel bad for zapping him. I'm not saying that. But I just think it's just the quality of human being that he is. He's just an extraordinary guy, and he just really wanted to in every way, help as he could. And I was trying really hard to not think about industry things that day. And there was a post that went on Facebook about that. The DJ that performed that day did a great job. He was kind of looking for, I think he said it really well in the post that he made. He was looking for the stamp of approval from me, for the affirmation. And I said, not today. I'm not working today. Let me just have this one day. I just want to be the father of the bride. I want to be emotional, and I want to be joyous. And I just don't want to think about sound or work. And he said, well, surely you must have noticed something. And I said, no, listen, just not today. Okay. And then he says, oh, I get it now. It was great. It was really good. I thought more of our industry needs to think about that side of it, right?
Yeah.
It's not about you side of it. And as a DJ, I was absolutely guilty of that. I was the performer. I'm the guy. It's the Ben show. No, it's not. No, it is not.
And I don't think you really get that until you've been on the other side.
Yeah, it took me. Well, I'm many years retired as a DJ, so I guess it's too little, too late for me. So but I'm trying to share that with others, and you, same story, right? We can share that wisdom. And speaking of wisdom, I should probably circle back to the point I was making about multimeters, which is to say that no, not everybody is going to do that, but I don't think it's above anybody. I think that as long as you follow some basic safety protocols, like don't touch the metal part with your fingers. I would encourage everybody to get comfortable with a multimeter, and I would encourage everybody to test their outlets. I would encourage everybody, we've done other shows on this, have a little, 3-prong outlet tester, get a multimeter. I think, it's only new the first time, and it gets easier every time you do it, right? So yeah, John, I think the burning question that most DJs ask me though, when I talk about this in presentations, is they say, well, what do I do if it doesn't pass? That's a good question, because you're not an electrician. You're not going to just fix it, right? So now you're faced with some hard choices there. I think don't use it as one, and it's sort of like, is putting your head in the sand and pretending you don't have a problem better than acknowledging that you do? I guess I'd rather know. I'd rather deal with the what if, or not the what if. I'd rather deal with the what is than the what if.
Yeah,
right?
for sure. Because you may have a chance to be able to do something. The other way, when you have to do something, then it could be catastrophic.
Yeah, sure. Agreed.
Ben, let's kind of wrap up on the topic of battery gear when it comes to electricity. We've been talking grounding, GFIs, and different things. Well, our Everse speakers, we can run those out. We can run our laptop, and as we just heard from Kyle, we can power our wireless microphone. So technically, we can be completely battery powered when it comes to doing ceremonies specifically. There's no grounds. How can we protect ourselves, or what's our thoughts with that?
Well, we're shifting to a bit of electrical engineering here, but I would say, and again, knowing that some lawyer might watch this, right? I'm not going to say that anything is 100% safe, but I will say that a battery powered system is inherently more safe. And part of the reason is the current capability. The amount of power it can deliver is greatly diminished, and it's more of a closed system. That is not to say that you cannot get zapped by a battery system. You definitely can. They can cause substantial damage. They can create fires, and there's all kinds of things, right? We live in a world where we have to think about that. But of course, it does solve a lot of problems, not the least of which being, just simply things like voltage drop if we have to run really, really long cords. And of course, the more we run our cords, the more risk we run where, a connection is damaged or a cord is damaged or even somebody trips,
Yeah.
So yeah, there's some real advantages to going with battery, speed, portability, I think an inherent level of safety. There are definitely some advantages there too. So,
Excellent. Excellent.
but always, 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 always read the manual, follow the directions, read safety guides and protocols. And coming from a guy who's actually written the user's manual, and I'll tell you that is the worst experience because I've done a lot of things in my life, but I think there are fewer things I've done that felt more hopeless or fruitless than writing a user's manual because I said nobody's going to ever read this. I am wasting my entire weekend and nobody's ever going to read this. So please, for the sake of guys like me, I know manuals aren't a fun read, but there's some good stuff in there. And always follow those safety directions. Use listed equipment. Just common sense is going to save the day 99% of the time.
Excellent. Good. Thank you, Ben.
You're welcome.
And again, if you caught the first part of the show, if you're looking for some gear and such you've heard about at AC, you can go to the NLFX Pro website to find the phone number and give them a call. Pricing on anything that's at Atlantic City is they can't put the pricing on the website, but if you give them a call up at the office, they can get you connected with some show pricing and such for the different things you've been hearing.
I think there's some giveaways too. They're giving away a bunch of stuff, and that got me thinking.
That's right. I saw something about that.
Kyle just told me tonight, as I mentioned earlier, that Kat apparently has an NSFW nickname for me saved in her phone as a contact. So, which I can only imagine. So, you know what? DM me with suggestions on what I should change Kat's to. So, I want to know what should I change Kat's contact in my phone to. So message me and let me know. I would say comment, but I'm afraid it won't be commented.
Exactly.
Just send it privately.
Send it private to
John's channel is going to get banned here,
one of the comments here, Storm says that Sally reads all the manuals and saves them. Nice.
We just hired a couple more technicians, and they're extraordinarily smart people, with great backgrounds in education and all that sort of thing. But I was just telling one of them, I said, you won't believe how many manuals you're going to read in this job, and it was really fascinating. We're on this very large install site, new performing arts center. And, we walk into the control booth and there's an electrician in there with the user's manual open for the light he's installing. And it's like, it's like all day long, all we do is read manuals.
Radio Shack, he's got the manual from his first Radio Shack mixer.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's a collector. That would be, that's an old.
Thanks for watching and thanks for reading the manuals, buddy.
Yeah,
Appreciate you.
Good stuff. I'm not sure with tonight in a chill room if they're just going to be hanging out at DJNTV.com/chill because a lot of the crew are in Atlantic City tonight and hanging out there. So if you guys just want to go and hang out, you're more than welcome to. The DJNTV chill room will be open, and if a couple of you are in there, I'll be popping over in a little bit to turn the recording on or to get the recording to someone. So if you guys want to go hang out there and do some stuff, you're more than welcome to. And we'll be back in a couple of weeks with our last pre-Labor Day show, and then after that we'll be getting into our fall season once again.
Is that when I can wear white again? Is that what that happens?
Yeah, that's when you wear white. For some reason you're just kind of backwards. I think it's a snow thing you like to blend in.
Camouflage. Yeah.
Camouflage.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
Right.
Everyone,
I knew it was something like that.
Something like that.
You know what? I wear black year round. I mean,
exactly. We're in the entertainment world, and so it's always black. It's like, oh, what are you wearing today? Oh, a black T-shirt. Yeah. But then again, you don't have to spend much time thinking about what you're going to wear today. Just grab it.
It's pretty easy.
Quick and easy. Thank you guys for being with us tonight. Have a great evening, and we'll catch you next time. Good night, everybody.
Bye.